South by Southwest is back in Austin, showcasing the world's latest in technology, music, and especially film and TV. I'm excited as ever to be attending my 4th South by Southwest Film and TV Festival. But this year, the festival has a completely different look for 3 major reasons. Demolishing the convention center cut the festival by 2 days, a massive leadership shakeup left the old guard ousted, and worst of all, they got rid of the film wristband I've been using for the last 3 years. So I had to upgrade to a film badge this year. But the real upgrade, after 3 years, I finally made film friends online to go with. Part of me is thrilled to be hitting South by with a badge and friends, but another part of me is bracing for disaster after all of these changes. I'm in completely uncharted territory here. Will this be the best South by Southwest yet, or the worst? I guess we're gonna have to find out. Day 1 of the festival arrived and everything already felt different. Walking down Congress felt like a massive block party with all these brand activations. But that's not why it felt different. It felt different because of this new weight on my neck. I wonder why.
If you have Paramount Plus, which like 5 people do.
Oh no. Yeah. Me and Paramount Plus have a rough relationship. And unfortunately, I'd be seeing a lot more of them these 7 days. But this badge opened up more doors than I could have imagined. One of them being the Film Clubhouse, a lounge where film badge holders could sit and relax. Yeah, we're living that good life now. After a quick Clubhouse refresh, I went to my first activation, the Focus Features van. Seeing it gave me flashbacks to waiting 7 hours for that Criterion Closet van last year in the same exact spot. Luckily, this line only took 15 minutes, which was good because the activation was pretty basic. But the workers were hyping up Focus Features' newest film as a must-watch. Obsession. Funny enough, I actually could have watched this movie back in September at Fantastic Fest. So I wasn't planning on wasting a South by slot on a film I could have watched at a different film festival. But little did I know, this experience would be planting the obsession seed. That would grow into one of my biggest obsessions of the festival. After the van, I headed across the street to the Paramount Theater to attend the opening night film, I Love Boosters. Thanks to my badge, I could actually attend this year because the opening night film was impossible with just a wristband the past 3 years. This was Boots Riley's sophomore film after Sorry to Bother You. Funny enough, I actually met Boots in college during the promo tour for his directorial debut. Now, I really liked Sorry to Bother You until it went completely off the rails in the last 30 minutes when I got super surrealist and absurdist. And that's probably why I wasn't too big of a fan for I Love Boosters, because the whole movie felt like those last 30 minutes stretched out into a feature film. But this definitely is a personal preference. I definitely was in the minority because the crowd loved it. I ended up staying at the Paramount for the opening night TV premiere, Apple TV's Margot's Got Money Troubles, starring Elle Fanning. The show follows a single mom college dropout who turns to exclusive content to pay the bills. I liked it despite looking like every Apple TV show. And I might even finish it if I ever renew my subscription. Given that it was only the first night and not my first rodeo, I knew that South by Southwest was a marathon, not a sprint. So I called my night early. But on the way back home, I rode through 36 just to see what's up. What I saw next was shocking. It was practically empty at midnight on opening night. Austin's most famous bar district was a ghost town. Seeing this made me wonder if the festival in fact had changed forever. Is South by Southwest losing its pull? Let's hope my rest pays off and the festival picks back up, because day 2 was my most jam-packed day of the festival. And surprisingly, it wasn't because of the movies. Having a badge meant I could go to non-film events for the first time. Yes, I do love movies, but unfortunately, I have other interests outside of cinema, like tech. And who else to see than
Marques Brownlee,
someone I've been watching since middle school. I even got to let him know that during his Q&A, which he took well. From MKBHD's podcast, I stayed at the Hilton to see a live taping of The Big Picture with Steven Spielberg. You know, the movie guy. I would have skipped this in the past if I had just a wristband. But with the film badge, it was a whole new world. I budgeted 2 hours to wait in line, which I felt was more than fair. When the staff made us wait in a stairwell that felt like a bunker out of Saving Private Ryan, I started to lose faith being so far back. But they gave me a green cue card and said I had a good shot. For the next hour, all I could think about was what movies he'd talk about. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Disclosure Day, maybe even An American Tail, Fievel Goes West. The anticipation was eating at me. That excitement, though, began to fade when the event started and we were still waiting. But the staff kept assuring us that we get in. As we watched the first 10 minutes on our phones, they finally told us it was our turn. We were cheering. Waiting almost 2.5 hours felt worth it. We moved up and went through security, feeling certain we got in, only to be told at the very front that they were at capacity. Excuse me? What the My problem wasn't the waiting. At South by Southwest, you learn you'll wait for things you'll never get into. My problem was the lying, the fake reassurance. They knew the capacity and knew we weren't getting in, especially turning away as many people as they did. All I got from Steven Spielberg was this picture from 70 yards away, a little token to remember the 3 hours I'll never get back. Visibly frustrated.
Like, who runs a thing like that? It's so dude, him for this.
I didn't even want to think about movies for a bit, so I just hit up some activations instead. The first one was for It was actually 2 buildings. The first was offering free iced tea and swag, but you had to buy a burger. I'm sorry, did you say buy? That goes against my South by principles. I skipped the food and went straight to the second building to play the new Invincible fighting game, where I kinda 3-stocked the kid I was playing. Next was Logitech's activation, where I got to play a game to win a free MX Master 4 by pausing a timer at 19.8 seconds. My MX Master 2S is falling apart, so I really needed this. When it was my turn, I got a 19.83 seconds. I was so pumped because that meant I won, right? No. Because apparently I needed to get a 19.80. I'm sorry, the sign says 19.8. So I did win, because if you truncate or round down, that's a 19.8. Logitech, you better send me that mouse, or else you'll be hearing from me soon. All this anger and frustration really started to burn me out. That's why I stopped by the Rise activation for a free mushroom coffee slushie. The perfect pick-me-up to send me to the Lodge on Rainy Street. A staple from my last 3 South Bys, run by
Paramount Plus.
Somehow they're right. All trails at South by Southwest really do lead back to Paramount Plus. This was an activation with free drinks and free swag to promote Paramount's properties. So at this point, it's basically Taylor Sheridan propaganda, considering the network's current slate. This year, I had a badge, so I could cut right to the front of the line. Also this year, I had people inside to actually meet, which was very surreal because I've only ever talked to these creators online. Creators like Kareem Shamrook, ATX Movie Guy, Film Bro Sway, and Jupiter Stargirl. Medical Movie Man even told me he watched my South by Southwest vlog from last year to prepare himself for this year. That made me blush. I was originally planning on seeing Pizza Movie, but after a few Paramount Plus beverages, I was just going with the flow. Since my film friends were going to see Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, I decided to join them. We hitched a ride, which ended up being a race to the Paramount. We were the winners. So, as you could probably guess, Ready or Not 2 is a sequel. And I haven't seen the original, which would have probably helped because I wasn't super invested in these characters. Still, I thought it was okay. A decent popcorn movie. But many people leaving the theater did not like it. So take what you will from that. Continuing to go with the flow, I followed ATX Movie Guy and Kareem to the Alamo Draft House to see Crashland. In the past, getting into Alamo with just a wristband was nearly impossible. But with the badge, it actually wasn't that hard. And I actually enjoyed the movie. It's a DIY low-budget comedy that feels like if Trailer Park Boys and Jackass had a baby. I even got to ask a question during the Q&A.
Hi, I was really wondering what was the stunt choreography for this movie, and did you guys do any of your own stunts?
What was the stunt choreography, and did you do your own stunts?
I mean, we had amazing stunt doubles.
I pitched really hard to hit Billy with a real car, but he just wouldn't go for it.
After the screening was over, I still wanted to pace myself for the festival. So I biked back home through Dirty Sixth again. It was surprisingly more lively this night, which, coupled with the fun I had today, was a sign that the festival was picking back up, which made me very optimistic for day 3, where I started off with the television premiere for The Audacity, a show on paper that seems like it should be suited for me, since I love Silicon Valley. And I think that's why I didn't like this show. It tried way too hard to be Silicon Valley with this Succession style tone that it ended up just being very boring. So boring that I left after the first episode. With my new free hour, I went across the street to the Peaky Blinders activation, where they were giving out free drinks, hats, and haircuts? Yeah, I'm good. But I'll take the free hat. I also got a quick photo at the Nikon activation before hopping in line for the returning Rivian test ride. Thanks to my badge and an RSVP, I jumped right to the front of the line instead of waiting 40 minutes like last year. After these string of activations, I went to see Brian, a coming-of-age drama starring Ben Wang, Randall Park, and the main reason I went, William H. Macy, who was all over me when I was watching this movie. I can confidently say Brian was my favorite movie at South by Southwest. It uses its indie feel to make you empathize with the protagonist, and it takes massive swings with its dark humor. But the entire time, I couldn't help but compare it to another South by movie I saw a couple years back, Dee Dee. While both movies follow a teen trying to fit in, Dee Dee's Asian identity is instrumental in telling the story. Whereas in Brian, he kind of just is Asian. Still, Brian is worth the watch, and I hope it finds a distributor soon. After Brian, I was trying to figure out what to see next. My FilmTok friends were staying for Obsession, but like I said, I already passed on it at Fantastic Fest, and it was coming out in May anyways. For the next 20 minutes, I debated with myself on what I should do. After waiting and talking with my friends, they really started to convince me to stay. So you know, why not? Let's go see Obsession. The problem was, in the 20 minutes I was being indecisive, the standby line went from 20 people to like 200 people. And to make matters worse, my friends had reservations, so I had to wait in the standby line all by myself for an hour. All that time waiting in line really built up the anticipation I had for this movie. And that anticipation was at an all-time high when the staff told me I got in. After they let in the batch in front of me, I was literally the first person in line at the theater doors. But when they opened, the theater manager told us they miscounted and that there was no room left. I was the first person sent away. No matter how obsessed I wasn't getting into Obsession. Sad about missing it, I ended up just walking around the city, where I was taunted from the heavens by Paramount Plus. After moping around, I went across the river, caught 10 minutes of Calvin Harris's set, and saw Summer of '94, a soccer documentary on the US men's national team hosting the 1994 FIFA World Cup. I really enjoyed it, but my only gripe was that it acted like the US was the greatest team in the world. Like, come on, dude. We lost in the round of 16. After the screening, I caught up with my friends who did see Obsession. They wouldn't stop talking about how it was the greatest horror movie ever, giving me the ultimate FOMO. But I'm a South by vet. I know I can't get into everything. Plus, there's another screening later, so I'll just join the Obsession hive then. Day 4 started like I was waking up in Lucifer's lair, cause it was 95 degrees with 22-mile-per-hour wind. Welcome to Texas. I didn't plan much cause it was Oscar Sunday, so I stopped by the Yahoo AI activation at the Scoot Inn. Yahoo in the big 26, launching an AI product now? Hey man, best of luck to you, I guess. I'll take your free stuff. And there was plenty of it. Free drinks, free bolo ties. I missed the free cowboy hat, but I got a free boot jack. I bought boots the moment I moved to Austin 4 years ago. I haven't worn them once. Maybe this jack will finally give me the initiative to put them on. After scorching in the sun for an hour, I needed shade. So I packed my free boot jack and biked across town to the Zach Theater to see The Dark Wizard, a docuseries on the life of climber Dean Potter. I don't know much about climbing beyond free solo, but I was hooked immediately after seeing how raw Potter's story was. And that's the sign of a good documentary. It takes your naivete and turns it into curiosity. I stayed for most of the Q&A, but I left early to shut down for the night to watch the Oscars, my second Super Bowl of the year. After my little hiatus, it was back to the festival, where the temperature dropped from 95 degrees to 43 overnight, with a feels like of 25 degrees. Welcome to Texas. For some reason, I think Paramount Plus is responsible for this drastic mood swing. I can't prove it, I just know. To escape this cold reality, I put on a headset and entered the Virtual Reality Expo, where I tried Snapchat's activation and kept some souvenirs from it. Next, I head to the Stateside Theater for He Bled Neon. Despite getting massive flashbacks from the Obsession incident, I got in. It's a film about Vegas's underbelly starring Marshawn Lynch, who walked right in front of me as I was getting in. After watching a movie starring Seattle's running back, I went to a documentary about Seattle's very own superhero, Phoenix Jones, the rise and fall of a real-life superhero. Funny enough, this was the movie I was most excited for because it was the only story I already knew about. And we can thank Moist Critical for that. The documentary chronicles the life of an orphan turned vigilante fighting crime in Seattle, covering his rise and fall as a real-life superhero. It really delivered and was easily my favorite documentary of the festival, which was a testament to South by's documentary team because they crushed it this year. And the real cherry on top was getting a picture with the real Phoenix Jones after the screening. After the screening, I hung out with fellow film talkers to close out the night, like Slasher Reviews, reviews, and paid in pictures. As I was leaving, I saw Phoenix Jones one more time, and he fist bumped me and told me to be safe, which felt like if Batman himself was telling me to be safe. You know what? Thanks, Phoenix. I will. Day 6 started out with my customary South by Southwest photo in the same fit for the 4th year in a row. After almost being persuaded to end my day early, I made my way to the Omni Hotel for a conversation with writer-director Greg Kwedar, the Austin native who just came back from the Oscars after being nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay for Train Dreams. His second nomination in consecutive years after getting nominated for the same category for Sing Sing, which made this talk feel like a full circle moment because I saw Sing Sing at South by Southwest in 2024. I really enjoyed his talk, especially hearing about the ins and outs of Oscar campaigning and the politicking it takes to just get nominated, let alone win the award. After the talk, I went back to the Alamo and stood in line for an hour and a half to see the second screening of Obsession.
Surely waiting this long means I'm getting in this time, right?
No.
No matter how obsessed I wasn't getting into Obsession.
After missing it at Fantastic Fest and now South by Southwest, I've struck out at 2 festivals in a row. I guess I'll just have to watch it with the general public.
That threw a wrench in my plans because I was banking on using the screening for dinner. And I was starving because I hadn't eaten all day. So I'm not really proud of what I did next. I kind of just went into the next screening, ate dinner, and left as soon as I got the check. Listen, I know it was very wrong and very disrespectful. Do not do what I did. But in my defense, I really wasn't feeling the screening. And I had to get to the movie I actually planned to see, Poetic License, which is basically Nepotism's final boss.
You got Maude Apatow directing, Leslie Mann starring, with Cooper Hoffman and Nico Parker rounding out the cast, and Bon Jovi's kid being a supporting character.
Like, you can't make this up. Despite this, though, I actually enjoyed it.
It felt like a polished comedy drama driven by an enjoyable love triangle, with my favorite leg being Andrew Barth Feldman, who is now 3 for 3 in the movies I've seen him in. I'd recommend Poetic License when it comes out.
Well, that's if it comes out, because the distributor Roque dropped it after they were caught not making payments to the film.
But who was making payments was me, because I ended my night celebrating St. Patrick's Day at the Highball with my FilmTok friends, where I got to hang out with additional creators like FilmSys and Midnight Screaming. Sure, it stung that they were all talking about Obsession, and I just had to cover my ears to avoid spoilers.
But don't feel pity for me.
If I just made up my mind, none of this would have happened. And just like that, we arrived to day 7, the final day of the festival. And unfortunately, it started off as a tech-centric day because I went to 2 tech talks.
Like I said, unfortunately, Cinema Personified has other interests outside of film.
I went from hearing Nothing's CEO Carl Pei talk about his product line to Apple fellow Phil Schiller providing Steve Jobs anecdotes. But I was itching to get back to the movies. I made my way back to the Alamo to see Normal, written by the writer of Nobody and starring Bob Odenkirk. And we finally got into a movie. Woo!
Unfortunately, it wasn't good, because Normal felt like the biggest nobody dupe I've ever seen.
It was such a dupe that I realized in my script I kept on calling it Nobody instead of Normal.
I couldn't let that be my last movie, so I headed to the Stateside Theater for the shitheads.
I actually enjoyed this indie road comedy because it kept you along for the ride with its humor and cast.
They actually changed the name of the movie to Idiots, which makes sense because the shitheads wasn't really SEO friendly. And with that, that's a wrap on South by Southwest, seeing 13 premieres across 7 days, which led to the real highlight of the festival.
Because the only way to end it right was to party with my FilmTok friends at the Film and TV Festival party. That turned into karaoke at the Highball. That turned into going across the street and hanging out until 2 in the morning, which unfortunately led to me going to sleep at 3 in the morning on a Wednesday night. I was so burnt out from all these events that it took me 79 days to wake up. So that's why this video is late. From the 13 premieres I attended, here are my official South by Southwest 2026 awards. My favorite film was Bryant. My favorite documentary was Phoenix Jones, The Rise and Fall of a Real Life Superhero. And my favorite television premiere was Margot's Got Money Troubles. While I did enjoy these, I have to say, this was the worst film slate in the 4 years I've been attending South by Southwest, considering my personal ratings this year were significantly lower than in years past. It was also the worst South by from an event standpoint by a long shot. Why was that the case? Did the shortened festival dissuade studios and companies from investing this year? Looks like it. Did the new leadership struggle to navigate the festival without the convention center? Maybe. Or did I just pick a bad film slate? Considering how much I loved Obsession, that wouldn't surprise me. Regardless, with more leadership changes on the horizon and the next 2 years locked into a shorter schedule because of the convention center renovations, I'm genuinely concerned for the festival's immediate future. Despite all of these issues,
This definitely was the most fun I've ever had at South by Southwest. Sure, having a badge definitely saved me hours waiting in line, but the real reason it was the most fun was because of the people. For my first 3 South bys, I went completely alone, and it definitely limited the amount of fun I could have. But for the first time ever, I went to the festival with other people. Film talkers who I'd only talked with online, but I'm proud to call my friends now. So, while this was the worst South by from an event standpoint, it absolutely was the best South by from an experience standpoint. And that's why I'll definitely be coming back next year. So what do you think? Has South by Southwest lost its touch, or is it just evolving? Make sure to let me know in the comments, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.